وسنقاوم احتلالا ثوريا إيرانيا للقرار السياسي اللبناني.
Good afternoon on this Monday, December 23rd. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Qatar sends relief aid to some 24,000 Syrian families who have fled the violence in their country to Lebanon. Russia says it has airlifted to Syria 75 vehicles and other equipment to help in the operation to remove and destroy the country's chemical arsenal. And South Sudan's army says it is poised for a major offensive against rebel forces as the country slides towards civil war despite international efforts. Premier designate Tamam Salam warns that the country's political crisis is threatening the Lebanese social fabric and leading to the state's disintegration. The crisis has reached a worrying stage, he says, and has become a real threat to peace, stability, and social fabric. This is according to a statement he issued on the occasion of Christmas and the New Year. He said the terrorist attacks in Beirut, the southern city of Saida, the northern city of Tripoli, and the eastern Bekaa Valley reflected the security abyss that the country could slide into. He also lamented the political life and said it was paralyzed amid a lack of calm dialogue and a rise in tense rhetoric. He warned that factional tension and the continued paralysis of institutions would take the society towards destruction and lead to the state's disintegration. All this was said in a statement that the only solution to the crisis is for the Lebanese to resort to dialogue and understanding. Qatar is sending relief aid to some 24,000 Syrian families who have fled the violence in their country to Lebanon, according to the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR. In a statement, the agency said that UNHCR signed an agreement in Beirut with Qatar Red Crescent for emergency aid that would include stoves, blankets, mattresses, hygiene kits, and fuel for heating. UNHCR says the grant was ordered by Qatar Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani in order to relieve Syrian families facing the difficult situation and the harsh cold. QRC head Saleh Al Muhannadi in a statement praised Qatar for the generous deed and for its continued support for humanitarian acts in response to the urgent needs of the refugees. In turn, UNHCR Lebanon-based Assistant Representative Kamil Darish expressed the agency's deep appreciation for this well-timed and kind contribution of some $20 million. Diplomats are urging Lebanese parties not to delay the cabinet formation pending a Saudi-Iranian rapprochement, which might not happen anytime soon, depending on the developments in Syria. This is according to a prominent diplomat who said in comments published in As-Safir newspaper that Saudi Arabia advises Lebanese archfoes to resolve their disputes on their own and not to wait for Tehran and Riyadh to bridge the gap between them ahead of the upcoming presidential elections. Several Lebanese officials recently expressed hope that any Iranian-Saudi rapprochement would have a positive impact on Lebanon and the region and would create further détente. The diplomat urged the rival parties to end media campaigns against each other, saying that Riyadh is not behind the political deadlock, in particular the cabinet crisis. Lebanese Army Commander General Jean Ahwajeh is pledging to strike saboteurs with an iron fist in the wake of a weekend clash in the western Bekaa that has killed 6 people. Ahwajeh told the local daily As-Safir in remarks, quote, "I gave clear military units deployed on the ground orders to deal sternly with shooters from both sides." He vowed that the army will not be complacent in preserving peace and will strike with an iron fist. The military ended Sunday a clash between 2 families in Bekaa that left 6 people dead and several others wounded, raising fears of sectarian violence in the village. Backed by armored vehicles, the army closed off the entrances of the village and blocked both highway lanes linking Rashaya to the Masna'a border with crossing with Syria. The fighting started on Saturday with an argument between Sayyid Jibyan and Ali Shuman inside the village butcher shop. Syrian army helicopters have killed at least 56 people, including children, by dropping barrel bombs on the northern city of Aleppo, according to the British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Sunday's air raids targeted Aleppo's Masakin Hanano neighborhood, hitting a second-hand market, a 2-story building, and a main road, activists say, in the 8th day of government airstrikes on the city. The medics say they are removing people in parts. They are not sure how many there are. This is according to Hassoun Abu Faisal, an activist with the group the Aleppo Media Center. He said the bombs destroyed vehicles lining a main road and a two-story building, leaving a crater where part of the market was. Activists said the airstrikes were carried out by government helicopters that drop barrel bombs, crude devices filled with explosives, and fuel that are widely inaccurate but cause massive damage on impact. Russia has airlifted to Syria 75 vehicles and other equipment to help in the multinational operation to remove and destroy the country's chemical weapons, according to Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. Over 3 days between December 18th and 20th, 75 units of automotive equipment, including 50 Kamaz trucks and 25 armored Ural vehicles, have been brought by aircraft to Latakia airport. Shoigu told Russian President Vladimir Putin via video linked up, and he was quoted by the state RIA Novosti news agency saying that Russia had also sent other equipment and provided no details. Russia's ambassador to Damascus said last week that Moscow had sent 10 planes to the Syrian port city of Latakia to help with the operation. The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons and Russian armored trucks would help take Syria's chemical weapons out of the country. And still on Syria, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter is proposing 3 principles as a basis for Syrian peace talks in Geneva: free elections, respect for their results, and the deployment of peacekeepers. Syria peace talks are set to begin in Switzerland on January 22nd, though the full list of participants is still unclear. The talks have gone nowhere up to now because each belligerent has been allowed to define the preconditions for negotiations. Carter, who won the 22 Nobel Peace Prize, wrote in an opinion piece in the Washington Post. He is proposing basing the Geneva talks on letting the Syrian people decide on their future government and a free election closely monitored by international observers, an assurance that the victors will respect sectarian and minority groups, and the deployment of a robust peacekeeping force to make sure those goals are achieved. Coming up next, people across the globe are preparing for Christmas. More details after the break. Welcome back. Mortar rounds struck an Iraqi army base west of Baghdad, security officials are saying, killing 4 officers and 2 soldiers. The sources said a brigade commander was among the dead in the attack, which took place in the Abu Ghraib area. The death came 2 days after 5 senior officers, including a division commander, and 10 soldiers were killed during an operation against militants in the mainly Sunni western province of Anbar. Violence in Iraq has reached a level not seen since 2008, when the country was just emerging from a brutal period of sectarian killings. On Sunday, Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki said that a Sunni Arab anti-government protest camp in Anbar had become a headquarters for the leadership of al-Qaeda, calling on legitimate protesters to leave before security forces move in. And South Sudan's army says it is poised for a major offensive against rebel forces as the country slides towards civil war despite international peace efforts. Expectations of a major upsurge in fighting comes as the United Nations warns that the situation in the world's youngest nation is fast unraveling, with hundreds of thousands of civilians now at risk. Fighting has gripped South Sudan for more than a week after President Salva Kiir accused his former deputy, Riek Machar, who was fired from the government in July, of attempting a coup. Machar denied the claim and accuses Kiir of carrying out a vicious purge of his rivals. Vowing to oust Kiir, his forces have seized the town of Bor, the capital of the Powder Keg Eastern Jonglei state, and located just 200 kilometers north of Juba, as well as the town of Bentiu, capital of the crucial oil-producing Unity State. Now for World Around the News in brief. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif says nuclear talks with world powers are progressing slowly and is urging all sides to avoid troublesome issues. Zarif also agreed with EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton that the technical talks on how to implement a landmark nuclear deal would resume after the Christmas holidays. And he said that him and Ashton made the decision during a telephone call to discuss the expert-level talks that began Thursday between Iran and delegates from the 6 major powers known as the P5+1. African Union troops fire on demonstrators protesting against the president of the strife-torn Central African Republic, killing at least 1 person. Several hundred Christian demonstrators crowded at the entrance to the airport in Bangui, calling for the departure of President Michel Djotodia, who became the first Muslim leader to the majority Christian nation after a March coup that unleashed waves of violence in the country. They're also calling for the departure of Chadian troops from the African MISCA force that, alongside French troops, has been struggling to restore order in the country. And Apple and China Mobile have announced a long-anticipated deal to bring the iPhone to the world's biggest phone company in the country with the world's most mobile phone users. The California-based firm's agreement with the state-owned Chinese company could add billions of dollars to its revenues. It will also allow Apple to compete more effectively in Asia, where it currently lags behind Samsung and other mobile phone brands. The iPhone is already available in China through 2 small carriers, but today's deal ties it to a heftier network. And Christmas is just around the corner, and for the occasion, people across the globe are rushing to buy gifts and supplies. Linda Tamim gives you a glimpse of the holiday preparations in the Middle East, Paris, Mexico, and even in the Philippines. Here we go.
People across the world are preparing for Christmas as millions are scrambling to buy last-minute goods to celebrate the Christian holiday. One shop in Jerusalem's Old City opens for a month ahead of Christmas and draws many customers eager to find Christmas decorations. Ivan Tatarsky, who's out to buy a tree, says Christmas goods are hard to come by in Jerusalem, where the Christian population is a small minority.
That's the one shop we have to buy things for Christmas and for New Year. So I come to buy for my children to make them a nice holiday. We will be together, all the family, with the children, dancing, singing songs and dancing around the tree. So that's the idea, to make it family eve.
This season, Paris, the city of lights, is aglow with spirit despite high unemployment and a limited household budget. Though spending is low, Christmas spirit remains high in Paris. Foreigners and Parisians alike crowd in front of the rows of stalls at a festive market on the glamorous Champs-Élysées.
I left Paris 2 years ago, and coming back here with all of the Christmas spirit, it's very beautiful. It's changed. There are the same stores every year, but it's glittery. It's not necessarily to buy things, but it changes your thoughts. And bizarrely enough, people are nicer during Christmas. If people want to visit Paris, Christmas is the best time to do it.
Paris before Christmas is very nice. We like to feel the atmosphere of some celebration, many lightning, more people smiling, cold, because how to feel the Christmas without coldness. We like cold climate because we are from Ukraine, so it's good.
Across the Atlantic, Mexicans indulge in various traditional activities to mark the holiday. But none is perhaps more typical than making a Christmas piñata filled with sweets and toys, a tradition that has been in Mexico for hundreds of years. Graciela Garcia is hard at work fabricating piñatas for the local merchants to sell. She makes about one every 30 minutes and is hard-pressed to keep up with demand.
I like piñatas because of their colors, and then when you break them and candies and fruit fall out, it sounds cool.
Originally, they were a representation of the 7 deadly sins, and when smashed, local lore holds sins are broken and treats tumble out. But for some, it's just fun.
It's the joy of children. If they see the piñata, they are super happy, and they love to smash it since infancy. When we were babies, then as adults, seniors, everybody loves to smash the piñata.
When Typhoon Haiyan tore through the southern Philippines last month, destroying towns, lives and livelihoods, the early Christmas decorations did not stand a chance. But despite the destruction, typhoon survivors in the Philippines craft Christmas decorations from recycled materials, keeping the holiday spirit alive. Most survivors are entirely dependent on aid, however, and will miss out on eating the lechon, or suckling pig, that usually crowns their Christmas feast.
And as we count down the days till Christmas Eve tomorrow, let's mark the end of our bulletin with a reminder of our headlines. Qatar sends relief aid to some 24,000 Syrian families who have fled the violence in their country to Lebanon. Russia says it has airlifted to Syria 75 vehicles and other equipment to help in the multinational operation to remove and destroy the country's chemical weapons. And South Sudan's army says it is poised for a major offensive against rebel forces as the country slides towards civil war despite international efforts. Those are your Monday headlines live on Future Television. If you're celebrating Christmas, enjoy it with the family and loved ones. Stay warm, and we'll see you tomorrow.
وسنقاوم احتلالا ثوريا إيرانيا للقرار السياسي اللبناني.